There's one type of food that I keep going back to, and it hits me the same way every time. I'm 43, living in Thailand, and testing what actually affects my digestion, my anxiety, and my energy. Not guessing, but identifying patterns. Today I'm going to share with you 5 points I'm learning about this special protein, gluten. First, it's not in everything. Therefore, I can avoid it many times, especially living in Thailand. We don't eat bread as much as we would in the US, but we're eating rice and other products that don't really have gluten, which is great. But it is something that affects me in a negative way. Now, I haven't been tested for celiac disease through blood work, but I do know that I'm very sensitive to it. Second, the issue isn't knowledge, it's avoidance. It's simply that if I know it's in a food, I'm going to try to avoid that food because I remember how it makes me feel. But there's at times, of course, when I don't know it's in a certain food or the dose maybe makes the poison for me. Third, the reaction is predictable. My digestion goes off, my energy drops, I get body aches and brain fog. Fourth, sometimes this delay makes it even harder to see or to notice. Now that's something that is a challenge. If I didn't know gluten was in the food I was eating and there's a delay and I don't feel any negative effect, it's really easy to think, oh, it wasn't gluten or it didn't affect me or maybe it wasn't strong enough. I do have one example of a few months back. We went out to lunch with some coworkers and I had a breakfast burrito. And here in Thailand, that's not too common, but there's a restaurant here that serves American breakfast style foods. And I decided to try it out. Again, trying it out, the pattern of having some gluten. And when I ate the burrito, it tasted great. But of course, about 5 hours later, I started to get a severe headache. And the next day, the whole day on a Saturday, I was in bed with a migraine. Now, fifth, I know when I remove it, I feel stable, I feel calm, I feel good, everything's normal. But when I reintroduce it, I get the same negative result. So what to do next? Test removing one food that you already suspect as having a negative impact on your health. For me, it's been gluten. Now, recently I went to the US on a trip, and I was loving the idea that there's so many gluten-free products. I was happy to test these different products out, from cauliflower crust pizza to the gluten-free protein bars. I found it was a great thing to add, and I realized that I don't get these stomach problems. And secondly, when I was traveling to the US, traveling on Singapore Airlines, I could make a request for my meals. Just in economy class, you can do that. And what I did is I requested gluten-free meals for the whole trip. Now, such a small little change and something I've never really considered before, but when I travel on an airplane, many times I'll have stomach ache or brain fog or just not feel well. In this case, I requested gluten-free meals, and the whole time, of course, the food wasn't as exciting as it could be, but at the end, I had no stomach issues, no digestion problems, and it really turned out to be a great trip. So let me leave you with this. It isn't confusion about this food for me, gluten, it's about avoidance. I know I need to avoid it to feel my optimal, to feel my best. Now, of course, doing a carnivore diet, a keto diet, or a low carb diet basically eliminates this gluten thing. But there are times when we eat different foods that make us feel a different way. So for you, let me ask you, what is one food that you know you don't work well with? Something that you eat that you feel uncomfortable with, or even a food that you may have a sensitivity to, like me.